I find this place very exciting because of the basic idea on which it is founded. The Mandel brothers talk about the focus of their philanthropy being finding people with the ability, the passion and the values to make change in the world. And that's exactly what this institute tries to do. So we go out into the world and we look for the most talented, young, passionate leaders in the fields of education and social life in Israel. And we give them opportunities to develop and become the best leaders they can possibly be, and through them to make a change to this society and to the larger Jewish world. And that commitment to values, passion and ability and helping that flourish is something that applies not just to our participants, to the fellows of our programs, it applies also to our faculty and to our staff. And that's what makes this place a great place to work. One of the things that I'd always wanted to do was somehow combine research and practice in Jewish education. And this was around the time that the School for Educational Leadership and the Jerusalem Fellows were beginning to become more than the sum of their parts and to create an umbrella which eventually became the Mandel Leadership Institute. And they were looking for young people to kind of help out with running some of the stuff, coordinating some of the programs. And I happened to have an advisor who was somewhat involved in that in the form of Mordechai Nissan, and he suggested at some point that I meet with a woman called Annette Hochstein, who I met, and she said, why don't you come and work with us part-time while you complete your doctorate? I'm sure it will be very interesting for you. And it sure enough was very interesting. Mandel programs are unique almost in their focus on the big ideas that animate people's work. We focus primarily on helping people articulate what is it that they're trying to achieve, how do they want the world to look when they're done with it, and what are the steps that they're going to take strategically to get from where we are today to the kind of world that they'd like to live in. So we deal with questions such as what is the good life? What is an educated person? In our areas, in Jewish education programs, it's what is an educated Jew, what's a thriving Jewish community? And those are the kinds of topics and discussions which you don't necessarily find in conversations about leadership elsewhere. The two things I find most exciting about having this connection that I have the privilege to have with the Mandel Foundation is their emphasis on two areas which for me I don't see many other foundations or families or institutions that take these as seriously as does the Mandel Foundation and the Mandel family. One of them is the focus on individual people and individual talent. Mr. Mandel is always telling me on each of his visits here, he probably says it 100 times a week, it's all about who. And one of the things that defines the Mandel Leadership Institute is our focus on talented individuals and giving them the ability to maximize their potential and their contribution to society. So that's one of the things I think that is most exciting. It's a real focus on people. It's the ability to imagine where this person could be with our help. They already have a great deal of talent, but what could we do to make them have an even greater impact? And that to me is a very exciting notion. At every level of the organization and in every kind of conversation that I ever have with people who are working in the Mandel Foundation, from the family down, it's this focus on people. And I find that a very exciting idea. The second thing is this ability to think long-term and strategically. Too many programs in Jewish education and in social welfare are looking for a quick fix. They're trying to put a plaster on the problem when what it really needs is some very delicate surgery. And it takes a certain kind of mind and a certain kind of patience and approach and ability to understand complexity to say, look, this may take 10 years, it may take 3 years, let's figure out what we can do, let's think strategically, and let's not pull the plug on something because we didn't think carefully about what was going to be its strategic impact and how long it was going to take. And that, once again, is something that's pretty unique here. I've spent a lot of time in Jewish organizations and in programs that are focused on leadership. And of all of those organizations, I think the Mandel Foundation programs, and this is true not just of the program that I run, but of the other programs that I work with and I have colleagues in, that I think is one of the defining characteristics. And I think it comes from the top down. It comes from the Mandel's family's focus on looking reality in the eye and figuring out what needs to be done, and not trying to seek out a quick fix when a quick fix isn't the solution. A good candidate for a Mandel program is someone who already has a significant track record of leadership in their field. There's someone who's already shown that they know how to lead, and that could be in fields centrally in the area of education or of social welfare, but it could be people who've demonstrated leadership in some other field who are interested in now devoting their lives to the field of education. A second thing is a commitment to the field of education, to the betterment of human society. These are people who really want to make a difference. So one of the things we're really looking for is motivation and commitment to change. And I'd say the third thing is an intellectual excellence, the ability to really take on difficult ideas and be able to challenge them and to be able to engage in difficult conversations about what it is that they're trying to do. Mandel graduate is someone who demonstrates the ability to articulate clearly what their vision is for society and how they attempt to achieve it. They're people who are able to think strategically and plan for the long term. And particularly in the Israeli context, in the field of education, long-term planning is something that is sorely lacking. And wherever you go and you meet our graduates, you'll find that that's probably one of the things that differentiates them most from their peers. The ability to think strategically and to have a clear conception of where it is that they're trying to lead. One of the things that we suffer from in the Israeli education system is a very high wall between the religious system, the system that serves the religious community in Israel, and the education system that serves the general community. And there's very little interaction between secular Jews and religiously committed Jews. And one of the most important initiatives, I think, that came out of work that was done here at the Mandel School for Educational Leadership was the work that started with Ruti Lahavi, who founded the first religious and secular school, which actually brought these kids together to study together. It was a revolutionary idea and has now taken off, and there is a whole network of such schools. Moreover, there is even moves this year in the Education Committee of the Knesset to try and create an entire new organizational structure within the education system that would do this for everybody. My vision of the Mandel Leadership Institute is to see it as a world-class institution in the field of development of leadership for education and welfare, so that it will become a resource not just to the most talented people in Israel, but will be seen as a model for anyone who's interested in leadership development for these areas of education and welfare from around the world. I would like this to be a mecca for talented people. I would like the young Turks, the next generation of leaders who are thinking about where they'd like to be, where they'd like to get to later on in their career. Who are the people they'd like to mix with? I'd like them to be thinking of the Mandel Leadership Institute, and I'd like them to be thinking about Mandel graduates.